No, I bet you guys were thinking I was going to do some kind of Bon Jovi theme here because we're halfway through the season. Oh, we're halfway there. Some of these teams are living on a prayer. No, just too simple for that because really it's what many of us should be thinking after the first 4 weeks and the four doubleheaders here. Well, now what? We're 8 games in of our 17-game season. Teams are kind of separating themselves. Playoff races are looking pretty clear, and folks who are behind are pretty far behind. So catching up is going to be a little bit tougher without these double headers. So we're going to go through each of the divisions and kind of ask ourselves, well, now what do we do with some of these teams? Luckily, I've got four very competent owners here to keep me from making too many mistakes going through here. We've got Panthers, Giants, Eagles, and Broncos on here. I've been told that Bengals may make an appearance on here at some point. So if we lose you guys at that point, I completely understand. But in the meantime, we should have a pretty good conversation here. So, gentlemen, thanks for joining me.
Hello, hello.
Excellent.
It's always fun to be on.
Thanks for having us, Mike.
It makes my week more fun. Otherwise, I'd just be sitting in my hotel room watching Love Actually by myself, which, as I was telling James earlier, I usually mark the beginning of the holiday season as when Love Actually starts showing up on TV. And here it is, October 4th. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Anyways, getting into it, we'll go division by division. And usually we start from the top and work down, but we'll go the other direction this week. Because that's a little bit more fun in terms of a contentious division that still has a number of things to be figured out. So starting with the NFC West. The Rams had a bit of a surprise double upset week this week, dropping to 5-3. The 49ers and Cardinals picked up some wins. They're at 3-5, and the Seahawks at 2-6. So the entire division is within 3 games of itself. I think that's the only division that can say that right now. I guess the South are 4 games, so it's pretty. AFC South is 4 games, so it's pretty close. So it's the AFC North, but 3 games with 9 to go is pretty much anyone's division for chasing this. So, kind of per the theme of the podcast. Well, guys, now what do the Rams do?
Nothing. They're fine.
Like, gotta go buy a running back.
Yeah, but with what though? Like he has no capital to do it. He's either going to have to move. He's either
broken Javonte.
Yeah, he's going to have to move Javonte to get capital to move somebody else, or he's going to have to move Javonte to a team that has a piece that doesn't care about getting rid of that. It's a mess. But luckily, Swift should be back this week. I think maybe.
Do I dare say it? Break Swift down into 2 lesser running backs. I mean, I don't know if there's many people in them.
Does he have cap space?
Probably not.
He has
like 5 not much.
He has 5.6 in cap space.
Yeah. He's got picks though. He could break Waddle down very easily, I'd expect, if he wanted to.
I would expect that he's not going to do it.
Yeah, he uses 24 seconds and gets somebody.
The only reason why I say Swift is because he has 2 years left rather than 3 years. I don't think I'm getting rid of somebody with 3 years left on their deal.
Yeah.
His big thing when he made the trade for Javonte was simply it gave him a really good piece that he felt was proven and that he feels he's going to win the division with or without that piece anyway. Mm-hmm. It just gave him more value than holding on to his picks that were going to be late. And he feels pretty confident he can win the division with or without him just because of how weak the NFC West is. And it's not like the NFC West is out here making moves to make him think that he's got anything to worry about this year and probably even next year.
Yeah,
that's true.
Rams is fine.
The only thing the West has done is the Cardinals got Cooks for me, and he did win 2 games this week. So he was 1-5, now he's 3-5. So, but he's easily the most complete team, so he doesn't really have much to worry about.
Yeah, Cardinals isn't bad at all. He's just had a very rough start to the schedule. Like his 1-3, 1-5 start, whatever it was. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was 1-5.
Scheduling.
Yeah, well, it's that and the zeros essentially at defensive end.
Yeah. If he can if the Cardinals can figure out a defensive end, I'd say he's got the better offense right now with Javonte down. I would rather have, and again, it's going to change as soon as Elijah Mitchell comes back, but he's got Burrow, he's got Jeff Wilson, and Kenneth Walker seems to be picking up snaps. Who knows what's going on with Cook's health, so Madison's going to be useful. Jamar Chase and Brandon Cooks, I say, is equivalent, if not competitive, against Marquise Brown and Jalen Waddle. And then Gerald Everett's been outperforming. Who does
Tanyan
have to have? Yeah, Tanyan. So offense is probably a little in Cardinals' favor, but not having a D end is pretty painful for Cardinals, and he's got less than $1 million in cap space due to all the dead cap he has. So it's going to be tough for him, considering how much he's relying on Gerald Everett and BJ Hill to go get somebody without having to break down a piece that he's really relying on.
He could easily, though, take Lawrence Guy's almost $8 million and Landon Collins $9 and send him to one of these tanking teams. He's got plenty of draft capital. He could go shop around with one of these twos and try to find someone at defense end that puts up more than 0 to give him somewhat of a fighting chance.
And I'm also going to say it. I'm not ruling out the 49ers.
Oh, the 49ers won huge with Javonte going down. They own Mike Boone.
So they've got Mariota. Ryan is looking abysmal in Indianapolis. So Foles may get some time there at some point. Boone and McKinnon. McKinnon's getting some use in Kansas City. There's talk of him even being the guy you'd want to own there. And then I think CEH pretty well shut that down this week. But Boone's going to pick up. Gallup's back, looking good. Rondell Moore's looking good. DPJ's had his points.
He can get $15 million for Gronk whenever he wants to.
Yeah, whenever he wants to actually get rid of a retired player, he could do that.
Yeah.
I see him holding on to him.
I think he's holding on in case Gronk actually returns for the playoffs or whatever, which I don't think he's going to do.
Yeah, I think if Godwin wasn't recovering as fast as he was, or Julio was more injured, Brady would have made the call and Gronk would be back. But I'd bet against that right now. I think he's getting enough from Rudolph and the red-nosed reindeer that are the tight ends there. But yeah, I wouldn't rule out the 49ers. So, and they have almost $16 million in cap space. So they have that, and then I think they have their picks still for next year.
I think he's just a great sell team, though, to be honest, because you aren't really confident in quarterback going past this year. You aren't really confident at running back this year, but maybe a little bit more next year if, something gets – never mind. I thought he had Madison. Madison's on the other team.
Yeah.
He's definitely got some linebackers, though, he could flip for some decent assets. Some linebackers I don't think that highly of, that a lot of people might think more highly of, to where he can get some profit. And
although you got to love the stones on him rolling a single cornerback.
I mean, he's been putting up points, so
it's working. But
yeah,
it helps to have the first rounder out. McDuffie's down, so Ward's playing a lot.
Ward's in San Francisco now.
Well,
yeah, I have the backup there. The backup's Watson.
Read that listing wrong somehow.
But yeah, so again, I guess when we say now, so now what? I think we just kind of wait for someone to make a move. I can understand Ram's perspective, thinking he's got enough firepower to hang on. I think I'd be a little worried. Maybe making a move and getting one more piece is going to make you feel a little bit better about that, because 49ers has the cap space and the pieces to go add something to make this be a year that he tries to win the division and then uses 24 to build. Again, I could see this going a lot of different ways. So in terms of now what, I would say I'd love to see the Cardinals or 49ers go buy something. And I'd love to see, kind of your point, RJ, is there someone who's willing to take Swift and Javonte in like a 2-for-3 type situation? Get creative in this and see if there's some way to make lemonade out of lemons here.
I think the one team that so I think San Francisco and the Rams, if they are making the playoffs, they're one of the lesser teams making the playoffs. Where the Cardinals, I think, is if they can find something at defensive end, like that's a team that could actually like knock off another good team just because of like the high end pieces that they have on offense.
Right.
I mean, sure, like don't get me wrong, the rest of what's assumed going to be the playoff teams in the NFC are all going to be stacked, and this team, like any of the teams from as of right now, the West would be considered lacking, like in comparison. But like I think the Cardinals has a high enough upside to where they're more dangerous than the Rams come playoff time.
Yeah. Again, it's going to be tougher because he has less cap space, so he's got to get creative in terms of what moves off to give him the room while keeping production. But there are trades to be made, so it'd be fun to see the NFC West get a little bit nutty here because things are close enough that there could be a little 3-horse race there to win the division. And I mean, technically they're still in the wild card race, so keep in it, boys. No reason to tank because the top 10's probably already spoken for.
I would very much like to point out that the best option for them to probably go after is probably Seahawks. How much interdivisional trading they're going to do, I don't know. But Seahawks is quote-unquote tanking and is not doing very much effort to get rid of pieces. Maybe that's a good opportunity to look at that if anybody would put in the effort to talk to each other.
Yeah, like, if, I don't know, Rams doesn't have a first, but like adding a first to a valuable piece to try and go get Brees at running back or try and for the teams who are a little bit less solid at quarterback, like the 49ers, go get Zach Wilson because he's probably going to at least be a starter in the league for the next couple of years. So, just some ideas. But Chris has joined us. I don't know what the hell he's drinking. It looks like either some kind of Truly or V8.
No, none of that. It's a Steel Reserve sour. Doesn't look bad. Doesn't taste bad.
I was going to say Steel Reserve. What do you hate yourself?
It's not bad.
All right.
It's not the best, but it's not bad.
All right. Well, let's make that transition and talk about the NFC East. So the mighty. So there are no more undefeated teams. Pending stat corrections right now. Giants dropping to 7-1. Eagles picking up, getting back to 4-4. Commanders at 6-2, and the Cowboys happily sitting at 2-6, scoring points and accidentally winning games, but still doing his best not to compete in the NFC East. So since we have a couple of the NFC East folks on here, guys, now what?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think I was going to stay undefeated. A couple of touchdowns don't get called back, and I think I pull it out this week. But I didn't expect to be undefeated through the doubleheaders, so I'm pretty happy at 7-1, especially since I got at least 4 wins in the bank over the next 4 weeks. Well, I 4 wins, I think, in the bank over the next 4 weeks. I won't get more than 4 wins.
That would be tough. I mean, pending the stat correction, then I guess you could get 5 wins in the next 4 weeks. But, more than 4 in the next 4 weeks is going to be tough.
I mean, RJ, your defense is just letting you down so hard. What happened?
Did you say my defense is letting me down?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Commanders?
Yeah, my defense is pretty all right. My DE2 maybe, but like everybody else scored pretty all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just looking at it from if you look at the total, I'm not looking at it week to week. I'm just running through the totals for the season. I'm just man, if anybody has a bad week, it's just not great. And I don't know. I feel like maybe that's happened to you a little bit more than expected.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the like 215 to 240 range every week. So just if those 215s could be a little bit higher, I'd be better off.
Yeah. I mean, regardless, everybody has a shot because Washington has no quarterback for at least this week, probably a couple.
He has no defense at all.
Yeah, I'm not terribly worried. RJ, I just really want you to upgrade Ryan Tannehill. I just look at that and I'm just like, you have a 1 or 2 year window until you can upgrade that position.
Yep. I'm trying, but I can't right now.
Yeah.
I've tried very hard to make the Commanders more competitive over there, but apparently he thinks he can start his 5th and 6th receiver at corner.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think everyone's going to be going crazy about corners and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think, to your point, Giants, you've got plenty of pieces that are putting up points still. Nothing to worry about there. Even with Gallup back, it seemed like Noah Brown was still getting some pretty hefty looks in the passing game, 6 targets last week. So he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Kittle's been a disappointment, but he should bounce back as the 49ers offense continues to figure out what it's going to look like with Jimmy back instead of with Trey there. And your defense has been something to stand up a little bit. So now it's just a matter of can some of those positions like tight end figure themselves out. So no major moves you have to make there. RJ, I think your schedule gets a heck of a lot easier. So at least the next couple of games. So I expect, you're going to be picking up games on a couple folks. Commanders has to go get another quarterback here. He's got enough picks that he shouldn't have a problem getting a quarterback. He's got his 24 first, third, fourth, and fifth. Plus he's got some big names there. So I would be kind of surprised if he goes into this week of games and doesn't have a quarterback not named Tua.
I mean,
it's just very interesting watching, it's weird because like every year it feels like out of the competitive teams, they all pretty much just sit and do nothing for the year because their confidence is too high from what it should be. And then you have Mike who tears his team down on a weekly basis, who's, got a proven track record of success with it, even though it's kind of not working out this season. But it's just weird. Like you can look at trade bait and you see the Commanders is like, oh, I'm going to sell off the team and I'm done. I'm going to tear it down. I'm like, no, you're not, clearly. But then you don't.
Nobody has nobody that would be buying has the draft picks at this point. This is going to be a very slow trade deadline. It's the picks are not plentiful right now.
Mike, if you want to beat your 500 record, sell off all those picks in 2024.
No, it's not. It's nothing Mike's done. It happens. Like
I know. I'm just saying that you have the golden ticket to get whatever you want, pretty much.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. Is those aren't worth things to really all that much to people right now. They're first, great, but they're in 2024. So a lot can happen between now and when that pick conveys for what it's worth. I've had a couple owners try and package 2 of mine for one of theirs saying, well, this pick is going to be much better, or this is going to be a top 10 pick. You have no idea what it's going to look like. The fact that you're trying to pass off somebody else's pick that way, if they don't control their own pick, they're not going to tank.
Well, you never know. I mean, like at the end of the day, though, like you're correct, but everybody bases everything off of what you see now and last year if they were around for it. Like every team that you have is a playoff team except for the Patriots, and people don't expect that to change, which is where people come from. At least, I get where you're coming from, but I mean, even me, I'm like, I don't know that I could trust any of those guys to stop trying.
Yeah. So, I mean, frankly, it's okay. I don't control my 24 and my team's bad. They're going to pay and trade their 25s to not be bad, not, finish dead last if they can't get their pick back. Like, that's what people are going to do. So, anyway, we'll talk about my team when we get to the North. But kind of wrapping it up, the Cowboys, just make some moves, man. Come on. You scored 650 points and you're trying to tank. You've almost doubled up Saints' score. Come on, tank harder.
The only big thing about Cowboys is that team's not bad, but he has to do something about TJ, whether he wants to or not, because end of the year he goes down to 1 year, and if he tags him, someone will give him that first. So if he really wants to just play that long game and get that first, sure, if that is what you really want, because at the end of next year he'd be 28, 29. But you would really think he would pay him now, or he would just go ahead and get that pick for this offseason.
Oh, he'd get more than a first this year. He could easily get that for anybody.
Not really. So he's a Pro Bowler last year and he's holding out. So
you'd have to pay him a lot to sit on the bench.
So just to put it back in everyone's mind. So linebackers last year, TJ was linebacker 1. In terms of this year's salary, linebacker 1 salary, since he would be a renegotiation, is $21 million.
At the same time, though, he has $51 million in cap space, and he's about to lose it all. So why not just go and extend him?
Well, again, that's the thing.
He's still worth all of that.
Yeah, extend him, but he's still a $21 million linebacker, which makes him a little bit tougher to trade for. Again, agree. Multiple firsts. If he's an $8 million linebacker at $21 million, it's a little bit tougher to work things around.
I mean, what do you say he is, like a late first, or are you thinking like multiple twos?
I'm saying a first plus. I'm not saying 2 firsts. I'm saying somewhere in that mid range, like a first and a second, or 1, 2, 3, or something like that. Again, that's what at 21 I would pay for him if I could keep him at that 8.5. And again, there's going to be a window where he's going to have 2 years left, or is he on his last year right now?
2 years.
He's got 2 years.
No, he's got 2.
So he's not going to make the Pro Bowl this year.
No.
So Chris, again, I'm not sure if this is still the case. As soon as he's not a Pro Bowler anymore, he could be extended before turnover on a 2-year rate at $8.5 million.
You'd still have to take the holdout calculation for this season.
So the holdout does not go away?
Not till the season rolls over.
Okay. But the holdout's an average of the top couple, right?
Yes. I can get the exact numbers if you guys want.
So then if that's the case, his best bet to maximize value is to just wait till rollover and then get a guy to do a trade extension.
Yeah, trade him right before rollover. It'd be 17.5 instead of 21 for him. But again, who knows? Because we're about to have some crazy bids come off in the next 24 hours to get people up to the cap floor. So that may change things a little bit in terms of what the highest paid linebacker is. So you either lock him in now, like you guys are saying, at the $21 million, where it's worth it probably. You wait till he's at 17 and potentially risk a couple folks screwing you over, or like you said, wait, tag him, and let someone pay him a first and 25.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I just feel like with the Trevor Lawrence, finally emerging, I really feel like he can make some moves to make his team pretty interesting, like from a competitive standpoint, especially looking at Commanders and Eagles rosters over the next couple of years.
If he paid attention more and gave a shit, he could do damage.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If he traded Watt for players, for people who are tanking, like go get Trayvon Walker and Jacob Phillips from, again, probably not enough. I'm giving examples here, but go get those 2 guys from Patriots. They're happy to have TJ sit on their taxi squad for a couple years and not take up much space. So, so that's an option there. So again, that'd be a lot of fun. So anyways, moving right along here, let's get to the NFC South. The cream of the NFC crop right now. Panthers sitting at 7-1, Bucks at 6-2, and Falcons at 6-2. Both Bucks and Falcons over 1,000 points already on the year. This is going to be just a battle for these guys for the better part of the season. So Saints doing their best. Again, probably has some selling to do because now that Kenny Pickett's the starter and Teddy Bridgewater's a temporary starter, he's going to be picking up some points. So has some work to do to stay defeated. And then, Panthers, Bucks, and Falcons doing whatever they need to do to stay in the race and stay ahead of us, at least for the wild card, because I don't anticipate that RJ or I are going to be going anywhere and trying to catch these folks.
Saints doesn't have anything he needs to worry about. He doesn't have a tank. He doesn't have a challenge to a loss until he plays me in Week 12. He has Rams, Browns, Bucks, Bengals, Panthers, Ravens, Steelers, and then me, and then he has Falcons at the end. So he's fine just sitting there with Kenny all he wants.
Yeah, it would be nice to see him trying to do something with Bridgewater. 25 million is tough for folks, but
be a great place to go look if you're Washington.
Yeah,
he doesn't have the cap.
You're right back. My wife's calling me.
But I know the Saints, and he's already watching tape, trying to decide what he wants to do with that pick. And that's going to be probably the biggest wild card in the draft. He really likes Pickett, but at the same time, he's not afraid to say, okay, here's Pickett to somebody else, and or sit at that 101, 102, 103 spot and sit there and look at the young Stroud or Levis, whoever it is, someone else covets, and do that. Or if he really falls in love with one of the other skill position players, just tell everyone to get lost and take who he wants to.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting to see what he does when he gets on the clock.
Well, this is for like way down the line as far as the discussion goes, but it's interesting watching the tanking develop because there's a lot of teams that are like intentionally tanking this year. One win takes you from top 5 to maybe 9 or 10.
The thing that's really funny about it, though, is the Saints. His intention wasn't technically to tank. He just took over a team that was shit and decided not to waste his time to make anything better. He just drafted who he could that he liked going forward, and he just inherited a team that was so bad he didn't have to try to make it tank, essentially. So that's a little refreshing. He was very happy when Jamal got hurt. He was sad, but also really happy. So. But yeah, the rest of the NFC South though is dangerous. I'm sitting with the fewest points out of the three of us, but to be real, the Falcons had one pop game where he put up like 300. That's really the point difference between first and third here. And I had a bad week last week where I had a bunch of stuff not go my way, and I just happened to lose to a Rams team that couldn't even put up 160 this week. So, but I'm not. If you look at my rankings, I have myself as the 7th NFC team, which means I realize I'm still on the cusp of the playoffs. The rest of my schedule is really difficult. I get the Cardinals this week. I really shouldn't lose that one. But then the next week I get Chris and the Bengals, and it just keeps getting harder and harder. So I'm not going to get a lot of freebies. But I expect with my 7-1 start, I should at least be in the playoffs or really get a shot for that 7th spot.
Yeah, I should go claim stuff off of Mike's taxi squad and allow you to process that trade.
Arizona, Cincinnati, Atlanta, Baltimore. Yeah, you have a tough schedule ahead of you.
Well, I just added more offensive players to my team with Mike, so that will help.
It won't. Just give up.
But yeah, I needed some. That trade's pretty simple. Needed some offensive points. Had some extra defensive players, and shook hands. Got it done.
That's a lot of names.
It's definitely expensive.
A lot of names.
But
I know these guys from a few seasons ago.
Yeah.
So as long as Keenan Allen comes back for me before I face you and makes DeAndre Carter useless, I'll be fine with this deal.
DeAndre Carter will never be useless. He's the return guy.
Yeah, he's kick and punt return. So he's going to give me some points. He gives me another floor receiver, and that's essentially what my receiving core is.
So he's like Ray.
Yeah, my receiving core is essentially Thielen, Boyd, Van Jefferson, and then floor guys and the one boomer bust and Hardman.
I mean, you have Ray, but as much as they aren't flashy, it's really nice when a lot of your players get blanked, and like that guy with 5
Yep.
points saves you from looking goofy with this 230-point lineup with a 0 in it.
But I have a great defense. I'm really confident in it. It's just getting enough points on offense to consistently be between the 220, 260 range. And I feel Stafford will figure stuff out and stop scoring me 9-10 points a week. And that gets up closer to 20. Again, Van Jefferson in there, so I have another guy who can consistently score 12. And I'll be pretty happy with what I can put up week to week.
You hope he can put up 12. I have questions about
Who's putting up 12?
Jefferson.
No.
Well, Robinson doesn't look like anything, so
I'm just worried about how healthy Van Jefferson is.
yeah, it's definitely concerning. Coming back and then having to have the rest of it, but even if not, it's not the worst receiving core in the league.
You only have 2 defensive ends.
I've got Nick.
Yeah, but like, I remember when you had both of the Bosas, and I said you should sell off the rest of your defensive ends then. But that's not a true statement when you only have one of the Bosas.
Well, you said that actually when I had Nick, Joey, and Brian Burns. I had all 3.
Yeah. Yes.
But I had to move. Joey was going to be a $15 million linebacker, and for what I was able to get out of him, essentially gave me Khalil Mack, a $15 million linebacker, and a lot of other pieces. So I was happy with getting rid of the Joey. Brian Burns took a while, but I didn't have a running back, so that helped me there.
You just need you need a defensive tackle that's labeled defensive end that just stops the run and gets you like
a base of
4
5 points.
Yeah. Yep.
But Rasheem Green's played 3 weeks and he's put up at least pretty much 10 a week since he's been healthy. So I really like him.
I don't know. I don't trust anybody on Houston anymore.
Yeah, that's going to be tricky as soon as any of your defensive ends or defensive tackles don't get your sack a week pace. You're going to be struggling.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, though, too, Amehu I picked up for cap. Fox I picked up with just cap. I know it's definitely hard right now because there's like 7 guys out there in total. But
what are you saying at defensive end?
I have at defense end. I think there's maybe 7 total ad drop players.
There's not many.
But also look at the scoring for it. Like, what is your top 32? Have a guy that has like 15 points on the season or something really close? Like, no, I'm sorry, I'm exaggerating. It's like 30 points, but still, like, once you get past 32, like 33 to 64 is not an impressive group. So it's like we're all pretty lucky to have, like, if we have 1 good defensive end or 2, it's.
I think at defense end scoring, I think I'm top 5 in DN scoring right now, and it's essentially just been my 2 guys. This is the first week Amehu even started for me, and it was literally by tenths of a point, just because he got that 1 sack. And also, he hasn't seen the field much with Drake Jackson, so.
All right. For the sake of progression, should we move on to the north? We don't have Mike here, so we can talk. We can talk ill of his team.
Yep. Let's go for it. I'm assuming we went from the bottom up this time. Okay.
Yes. So, like, did Packers pick up more losses last week?
I don't know.
No, they won both games.
All right,
They
sorry about
dropped
that.
an-
Are we still with
They
the
dropped another
South?
292.
Go away. We're going to talk bad about your team. No,
Sweet.
we
So they
just
lost-
we
they lost
progressed
to
to
the-
the north.
Giants by 4 points, and then back in week 1 they lost to Mike.
The Packers.
Yeah. Jeremy's team is looking solid.
Yes.
He's
some
got Lamar
questions.
and Gino. It's unfair. Who then we get Gino for 450,000?
He
That-
traded for
Free
him.
agency let it happen.
Oh, did he just bid on him? I thought he traded for him.
I think he just bid on him in free agency and nobody took him.
I love
That's
it.
insane.
Yeah, auction 450.
Yuck. That makes me a little.
But he's never in the starting lineup because Lamar's always outscoring him anyway.
Not the week he actually lost to me. Gino was the starter, I believe.
Okay. But it's a good backup to have in case Lamar goes down. It's also a great trade piece if he wants to get rid of him. But yeah, his team is ridiculous. Like, man. Yeah, it's really good. I don't even know what to say.
He's in dire need of a wide receiver 3. Like worse than anybody else.
Yeah, that's fair. But then I don't know. I mean, at the same time, he's going to play 3 running backs and 2 receivers every week.
I don't know, man. He doesn't need a wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
Like, Cup
Pretty
is
solid.
going to be wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 each week. And then
I just my thought on Cup. They can't keep doing what they're doing with him.
Yeah, they can.
They
They did it all. They did it all of last year. They'll do it all of this year. That's who Stafford is locked onto. Like,
They scored 9 points yesterday.
it's not Cup's fault.
Again, Cup was targeted, I think, 19 times in the game.
He has 54 targets, and that's with a 6-target week thrown in there.
Yeah. So, again, you're right, Chris. This is kind of like McCaffrey a couple years ago, where he was your wide receiver 1 and your running back 1.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's the potential for that there, just based off the sheer number of targets he's getting. For them to be more successful as a team, I think they're going to have to look at spreading the ball out more. Higbee's getting some good targets, getting Robinson involved so that he's more than just an occasional threat to open up the running game. Because right now it's, okay, we can keep our safeties up because Cup's not going deep on us. And the run game has not been established to where it needs to be. So
they're going to sign Odell. 100%. That's where this is all leading to. They're going to re-sign him.
But he's not going to sign until like the last couple weeks of the season. It's going to be playoff time or over before
he's not going to
like
re-sign
on
until
the
he
field.
play. That means he tore his ACL in February.
Yeah, it's gonna. Didn't they say week 11?
Yeah, at
Well,
best.
something like that.
Yeah. So,
Well, there's a
Yes.
certain time period you have to be on the roster to play in the playoffs. If I'm
yeah, I think it's week 10 or 11, but it might be later because of an additional week in the season.
right.
But yeah, I mean, Robinson is a total bust in that offense, and Van Jefferson's hurt. It's Higbee and it's Cup, and Cup is going to dominate all of it. Great team to consider trading for Chase Claypool, though.
Yeah. Again, he's the juggernaut. There's a reason why he's the highest scoring team in the league right now.
He's got picks as well. He has a lot of picks. So
He
Jeremy
traded
can
his
wait.
first this year, but I think everything else he still has.
Everything else is there. He can wait till the trade deadline, figure out who's gotten hurt on his team or what hole he needs to plug, and then just throw some picks at it and fix it.
Deadline's week 8.
I don't know. What do the bylaws say?
Week
I don't
9.
know.
Deadline. Trade deadline is week 9. In our shorthand thing, let me go to the bookmark.
Yep. So
Prior to Thursday night kickoff of week 9. I feel like in the past that's fallen on Halloween and we had a fun Halloween night of racing to get picks in or trades in.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Let's see where it falls this year.
That sounds right.
Little bit past it.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's second because today's the 4th, so 4 weeks from now would be
November 3rd is that Thursday.
Yeah, so I think it's the 2nd, wouldn't it? Oh, today's Tuesday. Okay, the 3rd would be Thursday. Yes.
Yeah.
I think the best thing to happen to Jeremy is Von Miller getting a DE designation. Like the fact that he is actually a defensive end is a boon for his roster.
Yes, that was a very clutch position change because his Ds I think were actually fairly weak outside of I like the kid in Houston.
Greenard is good, but
Yeah.
the fact he's got 2 DEs scoring decent points under $1 million each is just painful. Well, it's painful for me. You guys don't care.
I attempted that. I halfway succeeded.
You and your second, your defensive lover. I won't say he's your second lover because no one can ever live up to Gabe. But outside of him, Trey Hendrickson's your Huckleberry.
He's my Huckleberry. All right, let's talk about your team, Mike.
Do we have to?
Yep.
Oh, fine. Hey, I've got Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid.
So I love having Tom, and did we talk about that trade last week?
I think.
Oh, that's right. You slammed me for it last week.
I ripped it apart. I was drinking more heavily than I am tonight.
This week, getting those extra 15 points or whatever.
Yeah, it got me enough that I was able to right now squeak ahead of Giants and go 4-4 instead of be sitting at 3-5. So it's keeping me in the race. I've got probably 2 or 3 weeks down the stretch that definitely going to need him to step up, and it gives Fields time to find himself. I don't have to worry about what things look like there because Brady's going to put up points this year, and worst case scenario, I've got Fields for next year, or if I want to sell the offseason hype because there's going to be offseason hype for him, I do that. But again, it puts me in a situation that I'm collecting 24 picks, so I may not want to be super great next year and do kind of a 1-year flip as others have in the past. So Brady's $46 million expiring helps with that. And then whatever Fields is doing, he's still on that rookie contract. We'll figure it out from there. But gives me the balance I need there. I've started getting rid of my Miami running backs.
You have.
First domino falling there. More potentially to come. Again, this is going to be a fluid roster. It's going to be fun, and I'm just going to keep the market open, and we'll see where things kind of end up in terms of my pick count for 24.
It's very interesting looking at your roster. Like, you have a pretty solid IR squad too. I don't know how many of those guys are out for the whole year. I know Chase Young is supposed to come back soon, but
Young's supposed to come back. Let me look real fast. Landry's, I think, out for the year.
Simmons is out all year too, right?
Simmons should come back, they're saying. Perkins is out for the year. Reader's out for the year. Turner, if I've got space for him to come back, I'll bring him back on. But he was kind of a, who cares?
It's just interesting because like some of those names you could probably turn into picks if you have teams that don't care about taking on points. Like, not necessarily the tankers because they're trying to hoard their picks, obviously, but I don't know. Like it's just interesting to see the options you have just on IR alone. But I look at your roster and I think about one thing, and it kind of already happened this week. Deontay Johnson may have a vastly different output with Kenny Pickett.
Yes.
Kenny Pickett and George Pickens are best friends. And that's very clear. And I'm very curious if those roles switch immediately.
Well, again, and I've talked to a couple of folks about this. Like, I've been shopping Deontay because someone's going to have to trade extend him. That just is what it is.
Right.
But I didn't want to sell him with Trubisky as his quarterback because that's not going to give the potential and the value of what he could be. I got to see what he looks like with Pickett because Pickett's his future there. So if he's going to be valuable long term in this league, he's got to look good with Pickett. So we'll see if he's still a 12-point per game player. That's different than if he's a 20-point per game play here with Pickett back under center. And I think we'll start to see some of the stat lines we did last year from him as he was breaking out. So I think Pickens is fantastic. I think they've got a great tandem there. And I think Claypool's already starting to get in Pickett's doghouse with some of the volleyball games he was playing this last week. But,
they're talking about Claypool being a trade candidate at the deadline.
It would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant earlier with the Rams. Like, it would be a great spot for them to go get a receiver if you're not going to sign Odell.
Yep. So we shall see, though. I think
the Giants are also in massive need of a receiver. I don't know that they would actually trade assets for anyone, but they'll be scraping the barrel.
Shots fired.
Well, that's why they're the Giants and the Rams are the Rams.
Shots fired.
Well, the Giants are taking their medicine this season. Haven't you been listening to Joe Shane? Jesus. They're gonna have like $70 million cap next year, so it'll be a spicy offseason for NYG.
Yeah, I mean, like overall, like your team is solid. I think you just like a lot of teams, you just had some really bad schedule luck.
Well, again, I'm leading the league in points against. So whatever metric you want to use for strength of schedule, fine. Yes, because I've played the Lions and Bears. My schedule is under 500, but I've played Jeremy. I've played the entire NFC East so far, and I've played the Rams. So we're talking a division winner, one of the toughest divisions in the league, the top scoring team in the league, the Lions and Bears. Like that's not exactly the easiest group and gauntlet to run here. So I think probably 9-8, 10-7 is my eventual future here. If that's going to be good enough for the playoffs, we'll see. But worst case scenario, my pick is in the 20s and not in or it's the late teens, early 20s versus the mid 20s.
Yeah, I mean, you got a 4-1 schedule coming up here over the next 5 weeks with Packers being your only challenge,
and we'll see what happens there. I agree that Jeremy's got the better top players than I do. I've got more depth, in my opinion.
Yeah, bye weeks matter as well.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, that's enough talking about my team. We do too much of that in podcasts anyway.
But I mean, it's worth. I don't know. I think it is worth highlighting like the depth that you have on your team. Like even just looking ahead to like next year, the fact that you'll have like Harold Landry and Chase just kind of inserted into your lineup is.
I'm going to edit my statement. You're going to go 5-0 because Packers has Miles Sanders and Cooper Kupp on bye the week he plays you, as well as Von Miller. And like every single producing asset on his team. So yeah, you're about to go 5-0.
Look, I'm not going to count on anything at this point because
no.
I need to sweep Jeremy if I have any chance of winning the division. So we'll see what happens. God, who knows what my team's going to look like by that point?
That's also true. No, and then the Lions, I love what he's doing. Like he's got great building pieces. Like, I mean, he has at least one in Drake London. I don't know what he's going to do with him, hold him or sell him for more picks at the end of the year, but I think it's very fun to watch him do his thing because he's new, right?
Who?
Yeah.
The Lions. Is he year one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he joined right before the draft. Is that right?
I think it was right before the draft because didn't he? No, that was Jets that traded with Mike for 7 and 8, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think it's great. I think the best part about Lions' schedule is that he plays the Pats in a couple weeks here, and I'm so very looking forward to seeing how that plays out.
It's what when the Giants played, I think it was the Jaguars a couple years ago. It was the Trevor Lawrence Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be so much fun because it's going to be basically that's like the last 4 last 4 winless teams play each other. I play the Saints, and the Lions plays the Patriots. So the losers of those basically fall out of any real contention.
You mean the winners of those?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. The winners of that basically fall out of contention for 101 and their control, which is very interesting to see how it's all going to play out. But, man, not the best year to be a tanking team with all the competition around it.
Hey, it's looking like it's going to be a fun class. So,
Yeah.
especially at the quarterback position, looking like you got 3 potential guys who could be franchise changers. And we're early in the process. So they're going to continue to get microscoped and picked apart and stuff like that. You're going to see others kind of jump up here. So, again, it's going to be interesting. So we are 50 minutes into this, and we haven't touched the AFC yet. So 2 options. We can hold the AFC till next week, or we can keep going and make this kind of a marathon podcast. So I'll leave it up to you guys. I got nothing else to do. So what are you guys feeling like?
I'm down to hold off until next week.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I'll also talk still, but I'm also totally fine. I think that splitting it up is good. That way we're not rushing through the last half because we're all exhausted.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense here. So let's look at some of the trades that have gone down since last week. Trades last 30 days. So we did the podcast on Wednesday.
If you just sort within the past week, we usually get them.
Yeah, I'm just looking at what the line of demarcation was. So 13 trades in the last week. Spicy one to start. Talking about the Broncos and Colts move here. Broncos giving up Huntley and Bill's second for Sam Howell and the Giants 24th third. So Broncos buying potentially another quarterback who may see some time this year, who had a good bit of college hype with him, but because of Wentz being a bit of a train wreck right now, very well could see some time and have a jump in value next year.
Yeah, fantastic trade. I like it for Broncos. Bill, you were going to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know that there's a risk of owning both Ritter and Howell as far as like a tank season goes, but you know what? At the end of the day, if I can find 2 quarterbacks for under $3 million or whatever it is, don't have to worry about 101, landing my way if it happens to fall that way, I am totally fine with that. And if I do, then I have even more trade power down the line. But Howell was excellent. Like the guy he was considered the 101 in 2020, and then he just had a terrible year.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely one of those that has some opportunity to bounce back. We've seen that before where someone's been, the chosen one, fall out. I mean, people are going to make the comparison. It's probably not fair, but it might be. Maybe he's the next Kirk Cousins.
I'm totally fine with that.
No kid. Of course you are. who wouldn't be fine with that? To go from a second to a third and pick up a cheap starting quarterback who is a non-first rounder. Like, come on.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you.
Moving along, Colts staying busy. Actually, I think the Colts made the most trades in this last week. So hitting the ground running for sure. Moving Malcolm Rodriguez and his strong start to the Bears for the Bears 23 second. Again, 55 points so far. Looks to have a major role in that Detroit defense. Less than $1 million in the second round rookie. Great buy for Bears, who you're not 100% sure whether he's buying picks to try and build for next year or if he's buying picks to then move those for other things. I'm the last person who can be shaming somebody for moving the roster around because they feel like it, so I won't. But definitely probably the right price for him too, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to kind of get your profit from a player like that. I don't know. I don't think he's he's not in there all 3 downs, right?
I don't think he is, but I could be wrong.
No,
Let's see.
Anzalone.
My concern is like Dan Campbell gets fired and then Rodriguez has no value because the new regime replaces him immediately.
Yeah, that's he's a fantastic player, but there's he's not that guy.
Yeah.
So
He's still
like there's
what was he, 6th round pick?
right. But I like it.
Yeah,
He's
great
sitting
value.
at like 70 to 80% of snaps at inside linebacker.
Yeah.
Yeah, 71% of snaps at inside linebacker, 26% of special team snaps.
Yeah. And he just had fucking 12 tackles?
Yeah. So again, he's the kind of player you hope to hit on in a draft. If Detroit is smart, he's the kind of player they build around. I think despite the record, Detroit's having a really strong start to the season. So I think worst case, Campbell at least gets to make it through the year and probably gets a shot next year before he would get canned. But
It just can't close
that production probably won't slow down this year.
Right.
It's like after this year that's like the and not a concern. Like he seems like a talented player that will be a name we talk about for years to come. But he's also a linebacker, so Quan Alexander was fantasy relevant for 3 years and then has been mediocre at best. So
yeah, and again, a mid-second's probably what he would have to sell the player for. So good on Colts to cash out. Speaking of cashing out, Bears, again, staying active, moving Harrison Smith for Jesse Bates and Malik Hooker. I think everyone's taken aback that Jeremy was willing to give up on Jesse Bates. Smith is having a good year, definitely the elder statesman there. So Bears diversifies a little bit, and Jeremy consolidates into the perceived better player. That said, last 2 weeks, Bates has looked better than Smith has, so maybe making a move a little bit too soon.
Yeah, Bates is one of those that, although like really early in his career, he was outstanding production-wise. He's been more consistent than he has been like outstanding performances as of recently. But I don't know. I don't like this. I don't like giving up a 25-year-old for how old is Harrison Smith this year?
33.
Yeah, like he's a stud. Like he's gonna be one of the top producers. But
this feels more like Jeremy is looking ahead to next year with contracts because he's still getting value this year to stay competitive, but he's also not having to pay contracts to 2 guys that are fairly expensive. Like Hooker's $5 million and Jesse Bates is $4 million on multi-year contracts. So that's like $9 to $10 million wrapped up in 2 safeties. It's not a lot, but I could see it being a reason that he wanted to move off of them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what Harrison Smith's making this year, expiring. Maybe Jeremy's expecting, okay, I'm going to get the production this year, let him walk, get maybe a comp pick for him next year. Who knows? The safety movement continues. Steelers moving off of Eddie Jackson and my 23 third for the Giants 23 second. So moving up probably 15 to 20 picks in the draft with Eddie Jackson. So again, I like this for Goose. I think Jackson is a hell of a producer at safety. Again, I don't know what his production was last year, if it's going to make more sense for Goose to extend him now or to wait. But he's got to be one of the top safeties scoring-wise right now. So getting him for that price is pretty solid, considering what other safeties are going for at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, his 29, I honestly don't know if he even extends him. He just rides out these 2 years of cheap. Maybe there's a 3-year tag or something if he's still relevant at 31. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The most confusing moves that are made in this league, in my opinion, are made by Goose. I don't know what he does. He sells half his team and then he buys half of everybody else's team. So I'm not sure what to make of it.
No, it's a fine move. He's He still gets a third. So like it's a relevant pick. It's not a fourth or a fifth. He gets a productive safety at $1 million, and Steelers gets back a second, which is more valuable to Steelers at this point. And I'm happy for Steelers that he finally got rid of Jackson.
It's just very weird because the very next trade, like literally 5 seconds later, processed at the same time, basically, he got another safety.
Yeah. Well, this one was kind of strange to me just because wasn't he already on IR?
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess he's given up a player that's not producing very well either.
Yeah.
Not to
The
jump
thing about the goose trades is, in general, he's constantly flipping a single asset for multiple, or two for 3 or 4, right? He's always like multiplying.
Yeah.
And in a best ball league, I mean, there's value in that if you can keep squeezing out. You know, it's like the A's, right, in Moneyball.
Yeah.
It's just like you can just keep building value across all of those picks.
Yeah, points per dollar. That's his whole thing.
Yep.
That's kind of why the Tracy Walker doesn't really make sense because he's $4 million. If he was slightly above minimum with like a 3-year contract, that would make sense. But he's a $4 million safety.
I wonder if he's going to consider that as a renegotiation.
Maybe.
I don't know if you use that on a safety. I mean, granted, Walker. Again, Harris really popped second week too and picked up 74 snaps, but I see Walker seems to still have a pretty strong role there. If nothing else, in his body.
Am I like missing something? It said the injury report says he tore his Achilles in week 3.
Yeah,
correct.
Okay, then I don't get this at all.
I think he was wanting to get rid of Ogbonnia.
Yeah. So, okay.
Get something out of him while he's still a relevant name and doesn't fade into obscurity.
Yeah.
What team we make it to? Sorry.
All
We're going over trades.
We skipped the Western Conference.
Yeah, we're not going to do the AFC this time. We're going to do that next week. Since we're already an hour in and just got through the NFC. Colts and Panthers making a move here. Bud Dupree and the recently acquired Bills second for Kadero Hodge and David Ojabo. I love the Ojabo coming out. I'm probably completely butchering his name. I don't care. But
it's a huge steal for Panthers.
Yes.
Huge steal for Panthers. Like, Ojabo may not play all year, and that's fine for Colts, but we don't know anything about who he is, really. And it's an Achilles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So who knows if he's ever going to be what people predict him to be.
James Robinson, though, dude.
Yeah.
It's going to be better for your career.
I don't think it's a huge steal. It's a mid-second. And always injured Dupree.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a huge deal. I thought it made sense for both teams.
I don't know.
I just traded for Bud Dupree, so I have some faith in him going forward. I
liked Dupree back in the day, but he cannot stay healthy anymore, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah, ever since he left Pittsburgh.
So
I'm also very low on 29-year-old linebackers or 8-year-old linebackers and up.
Yep. Moving along to Chiefs and Colts making another deal. Jordan Davis for a third and a fourth. Poor Jordan's moving all around.
Chiefs keeps losing on Jordan Davis trades.
Yeah. Didn't he give up a 2 to get him?
Yeah.
Let me look.
And then he got a 3 and a 4 back.
Yeah, this feels like
all because he hasn't had like a productive week yet.
Didn't he send? I think he sent a 2 in Wandale for Jordan Davis in the
2 and a 4.
Yeah, 2 and a 4.
Okay, yeah. So Texans traded him a second and a third for Wandale, and then
like right after
traded Davis and a fourth back to get Wandale. So he gave up Davis his 24 fourth and Patriots 23 third to get Wandale and that's basically the deal.
So he gave up a first-round pick to get Jordan Davis.
Well, that's what happens when you don't live up to the points per dollar.
Yeah,
Gotta go.
yeah.
I mean, and we talked about this with Jordan Davis. Like, he's going to be a run-stuffing DT. He's going to be insane in the NFL, but he's just not going to be super productive in our league.
And he's also rotational this year. Like,
yeah. Well, they're
all-
always rotational. Philly always is rotating their D-line constantly.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see Davis being a little bit more of a game wrecker in kind of the Nada realm, just in terms of his size. Not always the biggest guy, but he's going to have a couple games where he picks up 2 sacks and, jumps. Is that worth a second in this league? Probably not, but I think he's going to get a good number of assists. And with the bonus that D tackles get, when he has his games, that's going to be week winning.
Yeah, and the good news is, I mean, he's under $1 million. Like, it's a good asset to have as Colts. Like, it's a big name. You can even flip him later if he pops ever.
Yep.
Right.
Because, there'd be people who want the names. Then Panthers continuing his good deeds. I guess feeling bad that he may have ripped off Colts for Bud Dupree in the second, giving Morgan Fox away for free. Not great timing since Fox did have a decent game this week, but sometimes you need to get the money off of your team so you can make deals with me. Sometimes a good idea, sometimes it's a bad idea. Should we just lump this in with my deal with Panthers, or?
Sure.
Yeah, you can go to that one.
Okay. Again, I'm moving off of Rashaan Evans and giving Carolina his 23 fourth back for that hot potato Bill second, and Evan Ingram, who, even though he's getting the snaps in Jacksonville, is not getting the targets. So definitely diminished in terms of what he was a couple of weeks ago. But again, since my tight end room is pretty much a who's who off the street, I'm willing to take a shot and see what he can turn into. But Rashaan Evans seems to have a pretty solid role in Atlanta, so it's a good buy for James. And who knows, that Bill second's looking a little bit better each week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting crazy good.
I think Ingram will bounce back. He's getting the
I
playing
really
time.
like this trade for you.
He's got a good contract.
I'm on the fence with this one. At some points I look at it and I'm just like, giving up Rashaan Evans, who is like one of the few like every down linebackers or almost every down linebackers in the league, like that's tough. But I do think highly of Ingram, and points at tight end are a little bit more scarce than linebacker. So sometimes you have to pay that high-end linebacker for a mediocre tight end.
He's on a 1-year deal with the Falcons. He's at $8 million. Would you send the Buffalo second right now for Rashaan Evans straight up?
I mean, I guess if you need a linebacker.
I mean, that's probably what he's worth right now. What you'd have to give to get an every down linebacker at that age, at that contract value. The 1-year prove-it deal with Atlanta is not great, but
He's proven it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like this means you just got Evan Ingram for a fourth, which is a steal. I think.
Well, again, Ingram has had, I think, 3 targets in the last 3 weeks, so not ideal, but we'll see if he bounces back once they kind of get everything sorted out there in Jacksonville.
Going back a bit on that, it's more than a Bills second for someone like Evans. I wasn't sure how that question was with the way it was phrased, but I'm not giving up Evans or one of my other linebackers that it's like 90% plus snaps for just a second. So I don't think it's fair to say Ingram for a fourth.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it's depending on where you fall on that. Are you worried about the fact it's a 1-year contract and it could be nothing next year? That's something you got to take a look at. But again, to your guys' point, he is proving it, so he's probably going to get signed someplace.
Yeah, I mean, just like right now, I'm not worried about like what's going to happen next year with the teams that you have. Like, these are pieces that are productive right now. So like I don't really get concerned with what's going to happen next year. more about like who's going to give me the better production this year.
I think you also just look at Panthers linebacker room. Like, did he really need another linebacker?
There's never too many.
Well,
I just
Panthers has the same approach as I do this year, is keep moving, keep kind of cycling and see kind of what your team looks like until you get to a point and say, okay, I'm happy with where things are sitting. So he's maintained flexibility because he's been willing to make moves. He's targeted the right players at the right time in terms of moving them. He hasn't won every trade because, sometimes the NFL is a fickle mistress, but I'd say, as long as he keeps going, he's got a good chance of kind of keeping what he's got going. Now he has a surplus at linebacker in a week where folks just lost a couple linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
So, taxi theft, Colts grabbing Tyler Batty from the Dolphins. Then
solely because he wanted to get his attention. It didn't work.
For another deal, so he ended up with Tyler Batty. And again, I liked Batty coming out of school, but he doesn't really appear to have a role at the moment. Then gonna steez here. Maybe not. Giants giving up Blake Martinez for 2/4. Again, I think Bill's gamble here is probably paying off with Martinez signing with the Raiders. Not really sure what that rotation looks like at the moment because you had Perriman back who got all of the tackles this week. But then Jaylen Brown, who I think played 70% of snaps, didn't record a stat line this week. So I don't know what to make of this for Martinez.
Perriman was also being tested for a concussion.
Yeah. So again, I don't know what the hell's happening with the Raiders linebacking core at the moment.
Just need a team to have cap space so I can move him.
Well, you also failed to mention that their linebacker one, Divine Diablo, is still getting 100% snaps.
Yeah, and again, Diablo is Divine Diablo on a team with the black hole and all that stuff is just too good. But like I said, with Divine there, with Perriman there, again, Perriman having his injury issues. Where's lineups? Here we go.
I mean, it's not going to worry me. Like, if he scores like minimal points, I'm not worried about it. Like, my scare was last week. I'm not supremely worried about anybody else until the Saints. But yeah, I mean, I just want him. I want to sell him off. I don't need the points. I don't want them.
And like I told you offline, like I expect that he's not going to get a lot of snaps for the first week or two. He hasn't been playing for 2 months. Even though he's familiar with the system, like they were a 3-4 in New York and they're now a 4-3 apparently in Vegas. So, there's some changes there too. So even if he finds his way into the rotation, it shouldn't hurt your tanking capabilities.
I should be okay, and we'll see what happens with him next year. Or I'll move on, hopefully.
Yep. Moving up to the Chiefs and Colts deal earlier. Colts flipping Fox, Cincinnati's third, and their own fourth for my third and their third in 23, as well as I'm not going to try and pronounce those names. But it looks like probably two depth guys that Goose got for min value that aren't living up to the points per dollar, and he just needs to dump the contracts.
Yeah. I think that this is pretty great for Colts since he got Fox for nothing.
Yep, absolutely. And then last but not least, deal that went down while we were on the podcast, moving off of Raheem Mostert and DeAndre Carter to at least using producers on one-year deals for DJ Reader, Charles Amonhu, Bud Dupree, and Will Harris. So a full offense for defense, which means automatically I lose. But with Keenan Allen having his injury issues and Mostert looking like he's been the hot hand a couple of weeks, Panthers upgrades his offense. I add a little bit more to my defensive depth and my IR All-Stars.
It's a very, very interesting deal right there. Mike, are you just like giving up on your Miami people? Or are you holding on to hope that Chase Edmonds holds it down?
So honestly, I'm not sure what to make of Miami. I think McDaniel's doing what Shanahan had been doing last year and the year before in San Francisco, with Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert, and those guys. And kind of Coleman might start, but if he doesn't, pop off, Mostert gets the next one, and whoever kind of gets into a rhythm gets the carries and gets to be the RB1 for that. So, again, he's a one-year deal. I like the value I was getting back on defense with Dupree on the contract he's on and Will Harris with the snaps he's seen in Detroit. I think I'm on, and I'm never going to get his name right, the DN from San Francisco. He seems to be Eckebaum and Jackson are in the rotation on that end, but with Kinlaw struggling to stay healthy, Armstead missed time in yesterday's game because he's got issues. So he's going to continue to see role in that D-tackle, D-end space that Kinlaw has been occupying. So, just taking shots at that pass rush. And then I like Dupree.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with Landry out for the season, Weaver really stepped up in week 1. I think Dupree, once he's back healthy, he got a couple snaps this week, had to leave because of some issues, but I think once he's back and fully healthy is going to give me another good pass rushing linebacker and get me some ceiling points.
I think Amenahu is also a good add. You kind of are stacking up, I guess, on the secondary pass rushers for 49ers, but between him and Jackson, I expect you have a good shot at like 10 points a week.
That's the hope. So those are our trades, and we're an hour and 15 minutes into it. So not sure if it's Jeremy who's our viewer or who's been watching us live, but thanks for sticking with us. As always, we'll do a little post-pod shenanigans, see if we can get a few more trades to talk about next week. But, so far so good. So we'll do the AFC, what do we do now, next week, and then the trades as normal. But, good luck with the cap floor, everybody. Get those guys in. $50 million linebackers are the new thing, I've been told. So definitely get as many of those as you can. And
gotta mess up TJ Watt's contract.
Exactly. Look at your division mates, see who they might want to extend, and see if you can pay up to get yourself a $50 million D end or D tackle or something just to screw with the numbers. So, anyways, sayonara, and we'll talk next week.